SportsBeat is brought to you by Ken Garth. We hear you.
It's always great to start a show with the David Benoit dunk, a flash from the past, right?
Yes.
SportsBeat is live. JJ and Sam with you for the next hour. BYU legend Yoli Childs shares his experience growing up black in Utah. 10 years in the Pac-12 for the Utes, 10 years of independence for the Cougars. We count down the best wins for both programs in the past decade tonight.
Yeah, we also have the latest on the NBA's return later this summer, and we have live sports. Yes, an American hero in English Premier League across the pond. But first, we'll hit the final round of the RBC Heritage on the golf course. Tony Finau sat at 11 under par for the tournament after 3 rounds. He was 4 strokes behind the leaders entering today's final round. He's been good, but today he would need to be great to reach the top. Instead, he was more average, 1 under par for the round, 12 under for the tournament. It was a 4-way tie for the lead and 35 players within 4 shots at the start of the final round. South Africa's Dylan Fratelli was the early clubhouse leader, sinking the birdie on 18 to finish with a 62 in the round, 17 under for the tournament. Justin Thomas was right on Fratelli's heels. The birdie on 16. He shot a 63. He would end the round tied in first at 17 under. Brooks Koepka. This is the par 4 ninth, 327 yards away. He's not only going to drive the green, but look where this ball winds up. Yeah, we're talking easy putting distance for him. An eagle putt. He drops to 15 under, finished the tourney at 18 under. Our play of the day came just off the 10th green. This is Joaquin Niemann from 60 feet away. My goodness, he is dialed in. A final round 65, stepped into the clubhouse at 19 under. 13 golfers shot 17 under or better, but this came down to just 2. Webb Simpson and Abraham Ancer. Simpson red hot down the stretch, birdied 15. Then on the 16th green, lining up another birdie. Got it. Then on 17 from 18 feet away, another bird. And then after a par on the 18th, he led it 22 under. Ancer keeping pace, needs a birdie on 17 and gets it. He's 1 stroke behind Simpson with this long birdie try on 18 for the tie. He leaves it a bit short. Webb Simpson wins $1.2 million at the RBC Heritage. Well, the NBA's plan to resume the season in a bubble format in Florida still may not be a total escape from the coronavirus. The league is now showing concerns after the state of Florida reported a record-setting day of positive tests just yesterday with more than 4,000. The average age of those testing positive in Florida, now age 36, according to the Tampa Bay Times. These stats are eye-opening, especially to those in the NBA planning to move there to finish out the season. In a recent call with the commissioner, Adam Silver, it was reported that he is still confident with the bubble concept and plans to go on, but he did express concern over the spiking numbers in Florida, and the Players Association also expressed confidence and will continue to work with the NBA to ensure the safety of athletes and staff.
Nice lob. Good. We now know for sure when NBA free agency will take place. It begins October 18th. The moratorium period on deals will be between October 19th and 23rd. Free agency negotiations can begin at 6 p.m. on October 18th, according to ESPN. The NBA has set the transaction window for all 30 teams. It will start at midnight on June 23rd and last until 11:59 Eastern on June 30th. Of course, the Jazz roster is currently full, so that probably won't impact the Jazz. The NBA draft will take place on October 16th. October is going to be wild. The early entry deadline will be August 17th. The early entry withdrawal date is October 6th, 10 days before the draft. And players who decided to stay in school back in April can now reapply for the draft before August 17th. All right, the return of the NBA can't come soon enough. While we wait, it's fun to look back at great Jazz playoff moments from the past.
Yeah, we've seen the mailman's playoff deliveries and flying Brian Russell's top postseason dunks over the past couple of weeks. Well, tonight we haven't forgotten about David Benoit, one of the greatest dunkers in Jazz history. His best playoff dunks are this week's focus on the top 5.
Down the middle to Benoit. In your face with a dunk. Oh, baby. David Benoit hammers it in with a right hand.
Face mama, 1993 NBA playoffs. Jazz and Sonics and David Benoit dunking all over the Supersonics in this one.
Basketball, they have the lead. 93-84, Chambers changed the shot. Benoit.
Back-to-back follow dunks against the Denver Nuggets in the 1994 NBA playoffs. When you can't pick one, you might as well pick two because Benoit was throwing it down on everyone.
Benoit with authority on the jam. Last possession.
Yes, with authority. David Benoit could fly, and there's an example against the Houston Rockets in the 1994 Western Conference Finals.
I'll never forget that one. The series-clinching dunk from Benoit against the Nuggets in Game 7 of those conference semifinals in '94, and that little shimmy with Felton Spencer in celebration afterward. Gotta love it.
Ellis taken away by Benoit. This game is over, and this series is over.
David Benoit clinches another victory in the playoffs in Game 4 against the Spurs in the 1994 first round. It was also a series-clinching dunk for Benoit. And he had a lot. We had, unfortunately, a lot of David Benoit dunks that are still on the cutting room floor. We'll share those with you on KSLSports.com. All right, to all of you dads out there, happy Father's Day. Tonight we pay tribute to one of the great father-son duos in Utah sports history.
Yeah, this week on The Archive, we look back at this gem, the day Frank Layden passed the baton to his son Scott in the Jazz front offices.
Special delivery, Coach Layden.
Thanks, Dad. I'll take it from here.
So good. Well, the Cowboys and Dak Prescott hope to live happily ever after. They have until July 15th to work out a long-term contract. Those types of deals tend to take a whole lot of time, though. So the Cowboys, they slapped the exclusive franchise tender on Prescott, and today the quarterback has decided to sign that tender. It's worth $31.4 million. This means he's obligated to report to training camp on time, even if an arrangement isn't quite reached for the long term by July 15th. Now, the rest of the NFL is preoccupied with navigating this new world of sports and COVID-19. With the spike in positive tests nationwide, the NFL Players Association now advising players to avoid working out with teammates to help prevent the spread. The NFL's PA statement release says, quote, "Our goal is to have all players and your families as healthy as possible in the coming months." Sundays in the summer are usually a big day for making left turns. Today's race at Talladega was delayed until tomorrow due to weather. But all of that is taking a backseat to an act of racism that occurred earlier today at the track. NASCAR released a statement saying it is investigating an incident where a noose was found in the garage stall of driver Bubba Wallace. NASCAR said in the statement, quote, "We are angry and outraged and cannot state strongly enough how seriously we take this heinous act. There is no place for racism in NASCAR. Once those responsible are identified, NASCAR says they will be eliminated from the sport." Now, Bubba Wallace also posted a response on his Twitter account today, saying in part, quote, "Today's despicable act of racism and hatred leaves me incredibly saddened and serves as a painful reminder of how much further we have to go as a society and how persistent we must be in the fight against racism." He goes on to say, quote, "We will not be deterred by the reprehensible actions of those who seek to spread hate."
It feels like no matter how you protest, it's viewed as the wrong way to protest.
Yoli Child shares what it was like to grow up black in Utah. Plus, Donovan Mitchell speaking out on racism and inequality. I have some thoughts to share on the comments being made on his social media post next.
And we're going to take a look back at the last decade since Utah joined the Pac-12 and BYU went independent in football. It's a top 5 that you don't want to miss, the top 5 wins from each of those programs.
SportsBeat is brought to you by Ken Garth. We hear you.
Juneteenth was Friday, the day we commemorate the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S. in 1865. Thousands of Utahns recognized and celebrated Juneteenth, including Donovan Mitchell of the Utah Jazz. He posted this on Instagram, a graphic that says, "Free-ish since 1865. The ish a reference to the inequality, injustice, and racism that people of color still face in this nation 155 years later." There were mostly positive and supportive comments on the post, but there were also plenty that were disparaging. Some of the comments contained veiled racism, some were just overt. Similar comments can be found on Black Lives Matter social media posts by the Utah Jazz and BYU football. Sure, some of the negative posts were made by bots, but there were a good amount made by real people, some Utahns, some members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I grew up a Jazz fan. I live in Utah, and I'm a member of the church. These comments made me sick, angry, and embarrassed. Twice since June 1st, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Russell M. Nelson, has made bold and clear statements denouncing racism. On June 1st, he said in part, quote, "The Creator of us all calls on each of us to abandon attitudes of prejudice against any group of God's children. Any of us who has prejudice towards another race needs to repent. It behooves each of us to do whatever we can in our spheres of influence to preserve the dignity and respect every son and daughter of God deserves." Then in a joint statement with the NAACP, he says, quote, "Teaching children to love all and find the good in others is more crucial than ever. Oneness is not sameness in America. We must all learn to value the differences." Saying Black Lives Matter shouldn't be hard, it shouldn't be divisive, and it shouldn't be a political statement. We should all believe that. Many of our black brothers and sisters are speaking out about their struggle, sharing the stories of racism that they've had to endure in our nation and in this community, and it's still happening in 2020. We need to listen, we need to learn, we need to have empathy, and most importantly, we need to love one another. Our brothers and sisters of color need us to stand with them and walk with them, not discount their experience and pretend racism and inequality no longer exists.
Well said, JJ. Well, former BYU basketball star Yoli Childs has been vocal on social media as well, sharing what it means to him to be a black man in America today, especially here in Utah. On his Instagram account, he invites all to start hearing the experiences of others with an open heart and an open mind. On his Instagram post, he shared experiences of systemic racism that both he and his brother experienced growing up in Utah. He asks questions that evoke thought. And he is clear when he says that Black Lives Matter. And that change is necessary, even here in Utah. He shared more with KSL's BYU insider Mitch Harper on the Cougar Tracks podcast.
It's been, eye-opening on my end to see how many amazing people are here. I already knew that, there's amazing people here. I already knew. like Cougar Nation, for example, is unbelievable. But you know, they just deepen that love and that respect I have for them. When I went to make that post, right before I hit share, I was sitting there with my wife, and we kind of looked at each other like, should we disable the comments? You know, like, yeah. So it's like you said, social media gets pretty wild, and we were just kind of like, no, we're gonna just be very vulnerable here, and you know, kind of trust the people in this community. And what the response has been was more than I could have ever imagined, and I'm just grateful for the amazing people that live here. We all understand in our individual families, a lot of times it can be almost harder on you when you see things happening to a loved one than it is when it happens to yourself. So that's definitely been the one of the harder things for me to deal with. I don't condone violence. I don't. I don't condone any injustice of any kind. And, you know, violence is one of those things. I think that something we have to understand is people are really hurt. People are very deeply hurt right now. And it's not just because of George Floyd. It's about the fact that it feels like this situation's brought up every couple of years. And, you know, I think that it's important to realize that people express their frustrations and emotions in all kinds of ways. And I believe that as a country, people are so deeply frustrated right now that they don't know how to express themselves and they don't know what to do, because it feels like no matter how you protest, it's viewed as the wrong way to protest. You sit on a bench and people say you're being disrespectful. You talk to someone in the military and they suggest that you take a knee because it's more respectful. It's seen as disrespectful. You protest, it's seen as disrespectful. So it seems like there's a point where people feel, you know, what can we do? No matter what we do, it seems like it's disrespected. So that's my personal belief on where people are at. And I think it's important to understand that, you know, we've all been through our own life scenarios, and we can think about our life in the way that we've had to grow and mature and learn to communicate our feelings and express our emotions. And we have to understand that when people feel so deeply hurt, they don't necessarily know the way to express that and know the way to make a change. So I think we need to be, you know, Christ-like at this time and have empathy for people, not point fingers and not say, well, this is wrong, but we need to come together at this time and have empathy for one another.
Huntley going to be sacked. Anderson dives, and he won't get there. He smashed at the 3-yard line. Wide open, heavy touchdown, down the sideline, all the way, touchdown Utah. 15 to the 10, to the 5, deep to the pylon, is he in? Touchdown! It's a touchdown!
So in my opinion, college football realignment was the sports story of the decade in Utah. It all happened 10 years ago this past week.
The Utes received an invitation to the newly formed Pac-12, a change that would have a massive impact on the Utah athletic program and college sports in the state of Utah.
Yeah, so now a decade later, we can look back on that impact. Who better to ask than Pac-12 Commissioner Larry Scott, who oversaw the expansion of the conference.
Very grateful that it all worked out, and Utah has added a tremendous amount of value to the league on a lot of different levels. It's performed very well. And, you know, it's just wound up being a great fit in retrospect. I think it took a couple of years of adjustment, but, you know, judging by Utah's performance and making the Pac-12 championship game a couple of times, and this past year being in the top 10 ranked teams in the country most of the season, you know, they've been a real flag bearer.
All right, so now we have 10 years of Utah football in the Pac-12 to look back on. There were rocky moments in the early years, but the program has elevated itself and been a contender in the conference for the past 5 years.
Yeah, it has. In recognition of the 10th anniversary, we thought another top 5 list would be fitting as we now look back on the best Utah football wins of this Pac-12 era.
The snap is good. and Utah takes the lead.
Andy Phillips' field goal was good from 29 yards out with 34 seconds left, giving the Utes a stunning 30-28 win over 8th-ranked UCLA at the Rose Bowl in 2014. Devontae Booker rushed for 156 yards, and the Utah defense sacked Brett Hundley 10 times. The mayor of Sac Lake City, Nate Orchard, had 4 of those sacks in the win.
Formation. Wilson rolls out the pass.
In what was considered by many at the time Utah's biggest win since joining the Pac-12, Travis Wilson threw a touchdown pass to Kalen Clay with 8 seconds left to help the Utes top 20th-ranked USC at Rice-Eccles Stadium on October 25th, 2014. That win improved the 19th-ranked Utes to 6-1 on the season.
A 55-yard pick six by nickelback Justin Thomas would put the Utes up 24-10 in the fourth quarter over Michigan, and they would go on to win in Jim Harbaugh's Wolverine debut. Michigan would go on to finish 10-3 that year and were ranked 12th in the final 2015 AP poll. That was a big win.
45. And look, Booker to throw. Wide open. Heavy touchdown, Utah.
How about this one from 2015? The 18th-ranked Utes went to Autzen Stadium and just stomped number 13 Oregon, 62-20. That's the most points ever allowed by Oregon on their home field. Travis Wilson threw 4 touchdowns. He had 227 yards passing. He also rushed for 100 yards and a touchdown. Freshman Britton Covey had 2 touchdown catches, one of those coming from running back Devontae Booker. And you might also remember a little fake punt from KSL Sports' own Tom Hackett. He took off for a 33-yard run in the route in Oregon.
Hogan, here comes the pressure. Incomplete, Utah's held.
2013 was a forgettable season for Utah. They went 5-7 that year, which makes their win over number 5 Stanford in 2013 even more shocking. The Utes led 27-14 in the fourth quarter and held on for the win thanks to a goal line stand that you just saw there in the final seconds. Stanford was the Pac-12 champ that season.
I think you would expect over 10 years in the Pac-12 there to be some aches and pains early on.
Of course.
And there certainly were. But I think you would also expect there to be the growth which we've seen in the last half of that decade, especially the last 2 years, Utah becoming a perennial contender in their division and for the conference.
There were some great wins that we had to leave on the cutting room floor. An overtime win against Oregon State in Corvallis. There was another win over USC at the end. Tim Patrick's catch in the end zone.
Washington last season even.
We have a lot of those listed, and we'll show them on KSLSports.com. All right, shortly after Utah joined the Pac-12, BYU embraced independence in football, and the last decade has had its fair share of memorable moments in Provo.
Yeah, no doubt. When we come back, we're going to take a look at another top 5. Why not? The top 5 wins since BYU went the independent route. That's coming up.
Rice-Eccles Stadium has been the home to Monster Energy Supercross. The season finale took place on Sunday without fans, of course. We'd love to be there, but oh well, it was fun to watch it. In the 450 SX class, Eli Tomac earned his first world championship title. He won by 25 points after finishing 5th Sunday in round 17. Zach Osborne won the 25-lap main event. So great to have that event here in Utah. All right, we ran down the best Utah football wins in the Pac-12 era. Let's do the same with BYU in the independence era.
Yeah, you know, they've always got so many Power 5 opponents on the schedule year in, year out. So the Cougars, they've had some great opportunities for signature wins over the past decade. We narrowed it down to 5.
50 yards away from field goal territory. A step up by Wilson. Deep man is open! It's caught by someone! Oh, yeah, baby!
Yeah, BYU's first ever trip to Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, and this was a thriller. Zach Wilson connecting with Micah Simon on 64-yard pass. They had to hurry, but they were able to set up the game-tying field goal with 1 second left to send the game to overtime. Then Tyson Williams, with the help of his O-line, muscled his way in for the game winner. 29-26 in double OT.
3-man rush. Mangum, all kinds of time. Steps into the throw, in the wind, down to the line and caught! Touchdown, BYU!
After Taysom Hill went down with a season-ending foot injury, Tanner Mangum stepped in. Just a freshman and fresh off a mission, he stepped in and threw up a prayer that was answered by Mitch Matthews to beat Nebraska. It was the Huskers' first season-opening loss since 1985, 29 straight. It was the longest streak in the nation.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Interception.
Yeah, the review that will always be remembered. For number 3, we bring it back to last fall once again. That overtime thriller to beat 24th-ranked USC in Provo. Diane Gawaliku, he was the star of the game. He rushed for a touchdown early, and then he sealed it with the overtime interception. This was just BYU's second win against a ranked opponent in the Kalani Sitake era.
Pulls it away from Jamal. And on the zone read, Taysom Hill. First down and more! All midfield! Taysom 40! He's gonna go! 30, 20, 10, touchdown! Taysom Hill!
I was right there in the end zone. Pick either Texas win. We went with the home win in 2013. BYU ran all over the Longhorns defense for 550 yards, a new team record and the most Texas has ever allowed in a game. Taysom Hill led the Cougars with 259 of those yards. His 68-yard run, the longest ever by a Cougar quarterback.
The play gets off. It's head left. No good.
No good. In 2018, BYU shocked the nation by going up to Madison and knocking off the 6th-ranked team in the country. A 24-21 win over Wisconsin. Squally Canada ran for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Alabahifo even had a touchdown pass to Moroni Laulupututau. And for the first time in 15 years, the Badgers lost a home game to a non-conference opponent.
Up next, the hallowed grounds. Tom Hackett's going to go golfing with Real Salt Lake General Manager of the fall. Before that, let's look back on this period of BYU independence. Look, it hasn't gone exactly how everyone would like it to go, but the opportunity year after year to play Power 5 opponents.
Yes.
Like when they beat Tennessee, we thought, well, Tennessee stinks. No, Tennessee had a good year.
They did.
So it turned out to be a great win. USC was a good football team, and that Wisconsin win was ginormous. Yeah, they've fallen short in a few of those opportunities, but to get those opportunities over and over again, Sam, I think has been what's been wonderful about independent football.
Yeah, no kidding. I would think that the fan base loves that they get those big heavy hitters at the front of the schedule, the opportunities to be showcased on a nationwide level with the television and that exposure that comes with playing top opponents from Big 5 conferences. So independence, yeah, it's tough, it's rough, it's always going to be a difficult journey, but I think it's one that BYU embraces and the fan base enjoys.
I've been to a lot of those wins. The Michigan State win was awesome. The fans and the experience that they have there watching those games has been very special for BYU and its fans. Up next, as I said, the hallowed grounds. Tom Hackett, always out at the golf links. Elliott Fall was kind enough to join him this week. He puts up with Tom next.
The Hallowed Grounds, brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen.
Welcome in to this week's episode of The Hallowed Grounds. RSL General Manager Elliott Fall, everybody. Mr. Fall, how are you?
Good, good. Ready to try to avoid that water.
So for those that watch the show, they're well aware how this works for you. You have to beat me on this. It's a par 4 fourth here at the Ogden Golf and Country Club. And if you win that, we'll go to a par 3. If you beat me there close to the pin, $500 Bushnell rangefinder coming your way. Either way, you'll get it. We won't let you leave empty-handed. Some gift cards, golf vouchers. It's a win-win.
That is a win-win.
So thank you for coming up. Best of luck.
Thank you. You as well.
Your tee box.
Turn right. Giant Utah football fan. I was a Muss member both undefeated seasons. I think it was sophomore and super senior, something like that. But yeah.
So the owner, our beloved Deloy Hansen, loves the youth movement.
Yes.
Your job is to put the best players on the pitch. How do you do it? Like, there's a fine line, I bet, huh?
Develop the best players.
You guys are all youth.
Yeah,
because the fans want the big signing. That's my. Yeah. I guess that's my question: is how do you balance that?
I think it's a fair question. It is a balance. It's all about because as you said, you want to sign young players. We want to bring in young players. We want to develop, but you've got to have professionals in the squad to show them the way, show them how to be a pro, show them what it means to win. And look, our academy, nobody's academy in the United States has been around long enough yet to have those professionals be your homegrown players.
Sure.
So we're getting there. We got the Justin Glads, the Aaron Herreras,
right.
These are veteran players, Corey Baird, who've been here a while, but they're still on the younger side of their career. Up, off to the right.
When you heard that there was going to be CONCACAF Champions League on the line, your tongue was wet, I bet. You were drooling.
I was thrilled. Look, I think like a lot of RSL fans out there, some of the fondest memories I have with the club
Champions League days.
Were Champions League memories.
Yep.
Playing down in Costa Rica in the semifinal, knocking Saprissa out, going to the final.
Right.
Hosting the second leg of the final. I mean, it's just, that's what it's about.
Oh, well, you've got two from there. I have one of these for you,
okay.
if you want it.
Okay.
And again, you got to stick this closer. It's a golf shot.
Coming back a little bit.
He likes it. He likes it. Hit a golf shot.
That's a good golf shot, too.
It's outside of yours.
Is it? Oh, it looks like...
Elliott won.
What?
11 and a half.
What?
11 and 3/4.
What?
Right. Never have I ever imagined I thought this would be the way it ends, but Mr. Elliott Fall, congratulations. Nate, what was the final ruling?
11 and a half paces to 11 3/4 paces.
I would shake your hand, but I don't know where you've been.
I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, we probably can't do that. But, you know, I'll...
it's an air high five.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, this week's pro tip of the week, we got Bob Wallace from the Ogden Golf and Country Club, head pro up here. He's the big dog on campus. We're going to work on the hands and the arm, well, more so the arms and the body working together, right?
Correct. It's a good little drill, a good little tip for people to use. A lot of people call these tees. These are cheap training aids, something that you can use to help groove your swing. What we're going to have Tom do is we're going to have him put one of these under each armpit.
Okay.
And what he's going to do is he's going to swing and try to keep these underneath his arms. The idea of this is to keep your arms and your body connected. This will allow him to turn his body back and through.
So
this isn't the swing.
This isn't going to feel natural.
No,
okay,
no,
good.
Should not feel.
Okay, all right.
Good, and you'll notice good turn through the shot, good contact, something that you can do that's easy, that's cheap, help you groove that swing.
And I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? If you put the tees under your armpits and you make the swing and one of the tees or both of the tees fall out, it just tells you that you're not as compact as you probably need to be.
Need to stay more connected, as they would say.
Bob, you're the man. Thanks for having us. That's your pro tip of the week.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I work at Untitled Golf, and I'm one of the shoe experts here. We're going to kind of go over basically what we have here in our stores. We have great options for everybody, every type of golfer, every level of experience. We have high-end shoes that are great for waterproofing. Echo is one of our best when it comes to quality. Most comfortable, definitely high-end leather. So it's definitely our highest price point here in our shop, but it's a big seller. We absolutely love these. We also sell women's golf shoes. This is definitely our most popular women's golf shoe right now this season. It's lightweight, colorful, goes with every outfit. We have a range of every golf shoe. We also sell some with the replaceable spikes. This is probably the biggest decision golfers make when they come in to buy golf shoes, whether they want to go with more of a spikeless casual shoe or more of a traditional replaceable spike shoe. We definitely have a wide range of options for our customers, and it makes it really helpful because then you can always find the perfect shoe for you.
Golf for days in Heber Valley at one of 5 beautiful mountain courses. Wasatch Golf Course, Soldier Hollow Golf Course, and the Homestead Golf Club are all within 7 miles of each other. Enjoy the feeling of getting away without the long drive.